What I love about my role as Tio Louie, and one of the hats I wear is promoting Latino multimedia makers, is the relationships I have with filmmakers like you. And that we go back 14 years, and we met in Flagstaff, Arizona at a film festival. I mean, and there you were with your first feature film. Did you ever think you would see yourself where you're at 14 years later with your second feature film and the caliber that it is, with the A-list cast that you have?
You know, that at that film festival, the film that I was doing was No Deposit, No Return. And I didn't realize that I actually had to deposit another 10,000 hours before I was able to work with such a cast, to be able to work with such talented people. You know, it took me this long to get a bigger release. 14 years later is when my second feature came out. So you had to deposit all of that. So a lot of water under the bridge.
14 years later, several films, shorts, the whole works.
Yeah.
And it's called A Miracle in Spanish Harlem. But it was a 3-year journey. I mean, this is a miracle in so many ways.
Oh my God, yeah. It was a miracle to make it. It was a miracle to finish it, because we actually shot during the worst time. It was January of 2010. It was a snowstorm almost every day. I mean, 3 feet of snow. You'll see snow in the movie, and we actually had to make that snow because it always snowed on the wrong days for us.
Don't you love things that are like so difficult?
Exactly.
There was a snowstorm, but the days that you actually shot the film, there was no snow, so
That's
you had to put artificial snow.
So just completing it became a miracle. And then once it got completed, you know, the industry has been changed right beneath our feet. And, you know, just since digital technology has come, everything's changed. So we had to shelf it for 3 years. So the 14 years to get it made was easier than the last 3 years having to have it shelved. Because it's a holiday movie, we had to wait for the right time to get it out.
And how was it getting, you know, what's amazing is you went after A-list people. Kate del Castillo, who's known in Spanish language media for La Reina del Sur, on mainstream television for Weeds. You know, Luis Antonio Ramos, who did, he had a role in Do the Right Thing. I mean, he goes back that far. And then most recently on the ABC TV series, Lucky 7.
That's right.
And here you are, you know, you're there. You've made it.
Well, we made the film. Now we have to get people to see the film. Yeah. And there's other stars. I just want to mention, we got some of these people became bigger along the way. Like, we discovered this wonderful girl named Fatima Patacek, and she ends up becoming the voice of Dora, the Explorer, which happens right afterwards. Adrian Martinez is in the movie, and he's opposite Ben Stiller in a movie coming out now, and he's doing a film with Will Smith. So all of these actors were always going to be working anyway, and they're wonderful actors. But we got them right before some of them actually exploded. In fact, Kate didn't do La Reina del Sur yet. She was, I remember her talking to me about, should she do it, should she not do it? And so we kind of, like, the 3 years it took for it to come out was terrible, but they all kind of became bigger and more in the light of many influential people, and it actually did help us to wait.
Here we are, ironically speaking, in Spanish Harlem. You're Puerto Rican Greek, live in Long Island.
Yes.
How did this film get made in Spanish Harlem, and it's about Spanish Harlem?
Well, it became because I was looking for a screenplay, and I know what my themes are, and I sent out to a lot of writers. I'm looking for a movie that is really about the road to heaven is oftentimes through hell. And this Carlos Bermúdez, this the writer that I met through Nalip, matter of fact, at the Writers Lab, he sent me A Miracle in Spanish Harlem. And right from his opening page, I read it right through. I read it on a Thursday, and by Sunday we were together in New York. He sent it to me from Los Angeles, and we were already working on it together. And to me, Spanish Harlem is such a rich historical place, and it's so familiar to so many people around the world. Just the word Harlem is an international phrase. You know, people are aware of that. It became my Main Street USA, and I knew that it would connect with a lot of people on that level.
Timing is everything, though for us, timing is a killer.
Yeah.
I mean, we want it yesterday. We want it yesterday. Like, it was funny, you said that when you first got in the industry, you thought you were going to be this cool director like Tarantino, and now you're more like Burl Ives, you know? But the timing couldn't be better for a film that, even though your film is predominantly in English, you know, there's a lot of Spanish in your film. It's a bilingual film. And here we are on the heels of the success of Instructions Not Included, that's entirely in Spanish.
Yes.
How is that complementing your premiere and launch of the film in December?
Well, it's in a big way. Instructions Not Included is actually bilingual as well. It's half and half, more so than mine. It's more Spanish in it than ours is. Ours is a New York film. You know, people speak Spanish because, you know, you say something to your abuelita that you're going to say different than your Blanquita friend. You know, things go differently amongst, you know, us Latinos. So to me, made a New York film with Latin stars. If it wasn't for Instructions Not Included, my film wouldn't be getting the big release that it is, the wider release. And it's because it showed that there's meat on the bone, that Latinos are looking for their subject matter to be told in their languages, which is English and Spanish. And that's what I think finally people are starting to let our culture be presented without being shamed by it, you know?
3 years into this journey of the making of the film, what would you do differently now?
The whole movie is a series
besides
of compromises.
besides not hocking your daughter's, you know, college fund. You
Well,
know.
I did do that.
I know,
yeah,
3 daughters, their college funds.
I
Oh
did
my
do
God!
that. When they found out that I put they said, we don't have a college fund. Like, do you see that film?
That's your college.
Miracles, please, miracles. I need a miracle. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, that you know, when now that this film is coming out, as you said, part of a 3-year journey. What would you have done differently now?
Oh
Either
my
the
God.
business aspect, casting, the crew,
You know, it's
or even
difficult to say
fundraising.
that. It's difficult to say because our film, what we did, is raw. It's emotional. It's authentic. Nobody's pretending up there. Although it's contrived and it's scripted, everyone is honest, and you'll get that from all the performances, and you'll get that from the writing, and I think my directing is as well. So there was a lot of issues. Way too much I want to get into, and it probably caused me too much trouble to start talking
And
about
lawsuits.
it now. But I can tell you that somehow all of that is on the screen. You know, whatever I was distracted by, whatever was bothering me, somehow it allowed for me to get into a hyper focus. And so, whether it's good or bad, it's on the screen. You know, it's in a direction that I gave an actor. It's how they responded. So, there's a bunch of things I would do differently, but miracles have their own plan.
And I have to say, I love the fact that it has a happy ending. I mean, you know.
I'm an optimist.
Right. No one dies at the end of this film.
That's right.
It's really, you know, the quintessential guy gets girl, guy loses girl, guy gets the girl with his 2 daughters.
Well, you know what my theme, I just told you what my theme is. The road to heaven is oftentimes through hell. It's like everyone's waiting for the happy moment, but guess what? You don't get there without going through the stuff, you know? That's the miracle.
And what is the business side now that you also would have done differently? Because I guess you really, this has been a business 101 of
Yes.
filmmaking for you.
Well, yes.
That you didn't get. That now, what would you recommend to a filmmaker?
Well, first of all, you need to be incredibly organized and make sure all contracts are in order and things like that. Just the practical sense, make sure lawyers are involved right from the beginning. I know lawyers are disgusting, but they're also fantastic, depending on which ones you go with. So just besides that, because of social media and because of all of that that's going on, you really need to put a lot of time and effort in making sure that you have your costumes. I don't have my costumes because of lack of organization. If I would have had Kate Del Castillo's costumes, we would love to be able to offer that to our fans and her fans and stuff like that. We don't have that. Things for the social media like videotaping and photographing and interviews and all that stuff, which we have a decent amount, thank God, because I had some wonderful people around me. Like
But you're
Eddie
saying
Paganda
that
helped me.
should have been
That
better
should have
thought
been
out
all
in
thought out.
pre-production.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, a lot of things regarding in marketing,
Yeah.
people think you start doing that when you complete a film.
No.
When you really need to be considering social media, outreach,
It's
distribution.
voracious. It never
In
you need-
pre-production.
You need all of that information all the time because every time you tweet something, that was 2 seconds. Now we have another, 2 seconds. We got to get through minutes. We got to get through hours, and so there's so much media that you need to have to just help sell your film because nowadays. You need to bring an audience. You can't just sell a movie. You can't just, hey, I have a great idea and try to find finance. You literally have to bring an audience. This is what YouTube is all about. This is what all this new media is about. Is they're saying, look, there's so many filmmakers out there. Everyone can afford a camera. Anyone can afford an editing bay. So you know what you don't have? An audience. Bring me 100,000 hits. Bring me 1,000,000 hits. Bring me something so I know, because they don't know what they're doing, these distributors, half the time. Show me that there's an audience. Luckily, I found a distributor that knows what he's talking about.
What is the story about?
A Miracle in Spanish Harlem follows a widower who's raising his two daughters, and his wife, died from natural causes, nothing dramatic in terms of no drugs, no alcoholism or anything, just a hard-working family. He has to hold two jobs just to maintain his family. He has a second chance at love, Kate Del Castillo, and who doesn't want to love her? And he can't afford her. Not because she's Kate, it's because he just has two jobs. She's a beautiful girl. He has to pay for dinner. He has to take her out for movies. Movies are expensive. Dinner, coffee, popcorn, all that stuff adds up. And when you're raising children in this recession, in this time, this is difficult. So he doesn't even have a chance to love. And the only thing that would really give him a chance at love would be a miracle. It would need a miracle. The recession would need to change. He would need to find a ton of money. He would need to, so many things would happen. So what ends up happening is that he discovers a real miracle in the process, and he doesn't realize by his own actions he creates his own miracle. So it's really about a man who finds his own miracle by creating it, by the act of doing and living, making mistakes.
What I love that you've shared with me is that you're also developing a revolution, and I'd like you to share with me about the revolution.
I absolutely think that we're in a revolution. I think that the best way to communicate Latinos to the rest of the world, to make them understand this, because racism is basically a lack of understanding. Ooh, you're this, and media has supported all these stereotypes. So we need counter media. We need media that shows the rest of the world how Latinos are just like everybody else, but this is where we're special, or this is how we're unique, or this is how we're specifically Latino. But guess what? Our story isn't a Latino story. It's Main Street USA. But yet Latinos feel like we're telling their stories because we're doing it from a genuine standpoint. We think this is revolutionary because someone's going to just enjoy the film. They're just going to go see a holiday film with a Latin flavor. We're going to see our cousins, our families, our abuelitas. We're going to see our family. We're going to see genuinely us. But we're not presented as asking permission to present ourselves.
We're here not only because we met 14 years ago, but we've solidified our relationship over the last 10 years because we're part of the National Association of Latino Independent Producers. Right. How did that, being involved in a professional minority networking media organization, help you over the course of the last 10 years, and especially with this film?
Well, I read its mission statement, and its mission statement is to get together, meet, work together. And so that's what I did. I joined the organization. Right after my first feature, we didn't have great success. I had to get back to basics, and I wanted to discover my roots in terms of getting back to basics and doing short films and really developing my style. And I joined the NALIP at the time. And immediately I met a guy named Edwin Pagan, who's now still working with me. We started working together then, and I started to go into all the different events. And by that exchange, by sharing ideas, sharing passions, sharing similar ways of looking at the world, you find your people. And what I mean by your people is the people who see the world the way you do or think the way you do. And not everyone's going to like you, but you find your people within that. And in the genesis of that is A Miracle in Spanish Harlem. It's people having a similar passion, and all that effort is how it gets done. And if it wasn't for NALIP, I would have never met my writer, because when I sent out this message, it went to NALIP people. And if you look at my scroll at the end of my movie, all the cast and crew, I mean, 70% are people that have worked with me on other projects, and all the other projects I've casted or crewed through NALIP. So I absolutely believe in us working together.
And the great thing is that not only have people worked on your film, but you've also worked on other people's films. Yeah. Like Adele Morales,
Yeah.
there you were in Reckoning,
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it's all an evolution and growth. And here you are,
It's
coming out in base of 100 theaters nationally, 250 theaters nationally. I mean, that is absolutely impressive for an independent film that you conceived of and produced yourself.
But we're no longer independent. Latino films are emerging markets. I like that title better because it shows what is an emerging market is something that has potential, right? That's really what it is. And what's beautiful is that finally they're seeing that there's meat on the bone, that we want to see our subject matters. So all of a sudden there's a bunch of excitement, and I think the timing is just right for that. And we happen to be putting out a film that we have Mexicanos in it, we have Puerto Ricans, we have Cubans, and none of that flag waving is going on, but yet we're clearly going to see that, and the rest of the world is finally going to grab hold to the multiculturalism that we are. Timing is everything. It really is.
I mean, it's also interesting that of the 4 films that we're featuring today, 3 are dealing with disabilities.
Yeah.
That is something that you're addressing in your film. But what I love about what you're putting out there is it's not the victimization, it's not the marginalization,
Yeah.
it's not a buffoonery. It's, you know, so how did you conceive of that role coming out in your film?
Well, it's funny that you say that because we have a person with Down disease. We have 2 children. In their nature, they need extra help. We have an abuelita who's helping to raise the children, and we have a wonderful actor, Tony Plana, playing a man with a stroke. But yet, they're all fine. The person that's broken is Tito, and he's perfectly able and healthy. He's emotionally distraught. And it goes to show how this day and age, we buy our own BS to think that because we're emotionally disabled or we're going through that everything is terrible, when the people who actually are physically challenged in so many different ways, they find the strength that we need to learn from them. So I think that using these type of people was a way of amplifying that you're not broken. If you're alive and you're healthy, that's great. Live.
Right.
Stop holding yourself back. That's the actual miracle, is life itself.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Anything that's come up so far? Come on, we've got a nice, lively, smart group here.
It's packed here, you won't know.
What's next?
Well, I'm actually working on another screenplay with this the writer of Miracle Spanish Harlem. It's the same.
So this, because you didn't write Spanish Harlem, however, now your next foray, as you keep on growing and going up, you're now going to be writing yourself.
Yeah, well, you know, as a director, you do everything. So, like, I didn't write the original screenplay, but there's, you know, I tweak things here and there. You know, I can't help but do that. I do that with every department in some form. So I've always, in some form, writing in it. But yes, Carlos wrote the original screenplay, and now together I came up with a premise that we're now writing together the story.
And that is?
Well, tentatively, it's called Over My Dead Body. And you know, that over my dead body is something that people say when they draw a line in the sand. They say, I'm not going to do it over my dead body. You know when you take it back? Over your dead body. So it's really about a family that's fragmentized and learn to come to terms with their past so they could actually get over their regrets so they could begin living again.
Great. Any questions? Let me have.
One moment.
Okay.
Questions?
And how has this, usually no filmmaker makes a film by themselves,
No.
especially what started off as an independent project that now is going to come out nationally. How has the support of your family been in this process?
Well, first of all, my family put in some money in the project. You know, that was very supportive. I put in my own money, like I said, my college, kids' college funds. Without family, they're the best investment you could make besides your body. You need to take care of your body and take care of your family. Those are the gardens in which you live in. Everything else will would begin from there. Because if you're trying to get somewhere, where do you start? You start at home. So you have to have your home in order.
Con permiso, one question, that's it?
Oh, well, you just answered the question, which was, how did you get the budget? I mean, a lot of people think that films, you know, what they don't realize is that for most independent filmmakers, we get the film out of our own pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and that's usually how we get things rolling.
Well, especially the first ones, because no one's willing to invest in you until they know what you can deliver. And so I have to be able to guarantee something that I deliver. So you have to be able to keep your budgets low, and it really is about content. That's, you know, my 3 rule is content. So the movie looks bigger than it actually cost, and it was a lot of creative producing going on there, you know.
Someone here has asked in the studio, what inspired you to make the movie?
I'm Tito.
Your dad.
I needed a miracle.
At that stage in your life.
I'm 44 years old and I haven't made it yet. And I thought like a mad scientist for the last 15, 16 years. I locked myself in rooms until I figured it out. And I think I figured it out, or at least I figured something out. And I needed to prove it and show it to the world. And just like Tito is, I do a desperate act and try to find my own miracle and just like Tito, I go through the coals until I hopefully got it. Now, finally, the miracle's starting to pay off.
Gotcha. Well, to me, this is no miracle that you're sitting here. I've always recognized your talent over 14 years.
Thank you.
I've seen you evolve beautifully, and this is really a great film.
Thank you
so
very much.
congratulations.
Thank you for your
Okay?
support. I really appreciate it.